Okay. So last time we said typically when we approach our problems, we do it in a rather conditioned kind of manner. And it seems like the ways that we've been taught to deal with things isn't going to work because it doesn't allow us to approach a problem afresh for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And we said, okay, is it even possible to approach it in a different way?
Mm-hmm.
And so how might we go about exploring this question?
As we approach our problems generally, our approach to our problems is conditioned by our thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And that thinking, being a product of our background, is never able to meet the problem totally, only partially.
Mm-hmm.
And so we must find a way of approaching our problems, observing our problems, that is not conditioned by thought.
Mm-hmm.
It seems that to go about finding a way of observing not in thought, one must first understand thought as a conditioning factor.
What do you mean?
Well, if we make an attempt to observe without thought, without understanding the nature and structure of thought, then we may get lost.
I see.
All sorts of illusions, fanciful imaginations.
I see. So you'd like to clarify what we think thought is? Okay.
And the way in which it conditions our experience.
Okay.
Thinking is a responsive memory. Throughout the course of my life, accumulated certain experiences, knowledge, memories, and from that memory, thought.
Mm-hmm. Are you saying that those thoughts are informed by memory? Or thought is informed by memory?
Not merely informed, but a response. In that it's one movement. Experience, knowledge, memory, thought, acting from that thought, further knowledge, so on and so on and so on. Say, for instance, over the course of our relationship, I've accumulated certain knowledge about you. I know your name, I recognize your features, perhaps I have a sense of certain attributes, personality characteristics. I have a certain sense of who you are in thought. And based on the sense that I have of you, I have a relationship to you.
I see. Are you saying your thinking about me is a response to your memory about me? I see. Okay. So perhaps when I approach a certain problem, in thinking about the problem, I am responding to my memories about similar problems, the ways I've categorized them, as we've said before.
I compare the present problem to the previous problems, the present situation to the hoped future situation. And based on thinking about our problems in this way, we try to solve them.
Okay.
But when we try to address problems in thought, that solution is always partial, because we never meet the thing as it is. And because our solution to problems are partial, from that solution arises more problems.
Mhm.
So we must see if there is a way to observe something without the response of memory.
I see. Perhaps to approach a problem not as a conditioned mind.
Not to say, I know what this is, I know what to do about it.
Mhm.
Or, I know what this is, let me figure out what to do about it.
Mhm.
But just to observe the thing as it is. And perhaps in that observation, there can be a learning about our problems that is not conditioned by our thinking.
I see. It may even be the case that it's not identified as a problem.
Quite.
Mhm. Like something to be dealt with, that is.
Mhm.
Something that needs to be gotten rid of, right? Typically problems, our association, connotation of problems is, makes me deeply uncomfortable. I need to get rid of it somehow. Where, how do I figure out the steps to get rid of it,
Mhm,
etc. I quite don't like it.
Yes.
It's a problem.
Yes.
But we're asking, is it possible to observe it without any of these kind of reminiscent feelings about problems in general?
Yes. As soon as I call it a problem, I demand a solution.
Mhm.
And that solution itself will be a response of my past.
I see.
So just to observe whatever's taking place while putting thought to the side.
I see. Then it seems like there needs to be an examination of my approach to the problem, or what we're calling problems. Previously, we said that typically we approach it in this conditioned state, but it seems like that I am in a conditioned state is itself a responsive memory. I identify myself in approach to these problems as a certain collection of my memories. Here's what I know, here's what I don't know, here's the skills that I have that I've been trained for. Here's the problems that I've been trained to identify, and here's one of them, or maybe not one of them. So I myself, coming to what I'm deciding to call a problem, somehow am myself a problem. That is, my idea of my state approaching the problem has been put together by thought. And we said, we don't want to do this. Or we said, is it possible not to approach something this way? But I'm already in this condition. I've already approached myself in this way.
I come to a problem with a certain sense of my capacity, my skills.
Right, who I am, where I come from, what my knowledge is from here to here. This is what I know. I'm already limited in my approach to the problem.
So is there a way to approach something without my conditioned sense of my own capacity?
Right. Because otherwise I feel like I'm starting off at a false foot. Either it's a given that I know what to do, or it's a given that I don't know what to do. Or that is, either it's a given that I have the adequate skills, or that I don't have the adequate skills to address this.
And if recognizing the issue with approaching our problems in this way we attempt to observe without problems, without the conditioning factor of the past, to say that my capacity is not limited to where I've been.
Mm-hmm.
If we try to approach a problem in this way without understanding the conditioning factor,
Mm-hmm.
our approach itself may become a different conditioning factor.
I see.
I say I am unlimited.
Oh dear. Let us know.
Yes, yes.
Those of you who are unlimited, please. Yes.
I'm not a product of my past.
I see. I see. My thought is not a response to memory.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
Mm-hmm. So we must go very carefully
Mm-hmm.
into the nature and structure of thought as it conditions both our observation and our action currently.
Mm-hmm.
I see something. Your sweater. A moment after seeing it, I recognize it. I say, this is your sweater. I've experienced sweaters before. I recognize that you are the one who is wearing it, so I call it your sweater. I notice certain features about your sweater. The material, the quality.
I see. After seeing it, the collection of memories that you have is already operating in association with what you've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And previously, I had asked the question, how is it that we're to approach our observation of something? You say, I see your sweater.
Mm-hmm.
Who is it that is seeing my sweater? Is it also the case that the one seeing my sweater is also a collection of memories, like we said before? Here's my knowledge. Here's what I've been trained to do. Here's how I identify problems. That itself being a collection of thought.
As a response
Mm-hmm.
to my experiences, knowledge, memories, I call that a sweater.
Mm-hmm.
And you were saying, who is the I that calls that a sweater?
Mm-hmm. That is responding to the accumulated knowledge about sweaters.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Only in response to the accumulated knowledge about sweater, I can call that a sweater.
Yeah.
So you're asking, is the one who calls that a sweater different from the response that calls that a sweater?
Mm-hmm. Say if the I had collected different knowledge about this particular observation, they'd be calling it something else. Yet you call it a sweater, or I call it a sweater.
Perhaps although we both call it a sweater, we have fairly different associations with the sweater.
Sure.
For instance, you are the one wearing the sweater.
I call it mine, you call it his.
So we're asking now, the I who observes the thought that is conditioning my experience, is that I itself the conditioning factor? Is that I itself part of that same movement of thought that says, I've recognized it, I've seen it before?
The one that is collecting memories, experiences, organizing them. Is that one also a collection?
In the same way that I have accumulated experiences, knowledge, memories about sweaters, likewise, I have certain sense of who or what I am based on the same process of accumulation.
Right. And perhaps that's how we typically approach our problems. And so we're limited in this way.
With my own limited sense of capacity,
Right.
prejudice.
Right. I see. Judgments of the past. Prejudice, yeah.
Prejudge.
But we said, if we do this, it's not going to work.
So what is observed in thought. The observer of the observed is also thought. I have an image of the world. I have an image of myself. The two images are not separate. But somehow I think they're separate.
I see. Are we suggesting that that which is observed by an observer is actually itself? When I respond to my memory of a sweater, all that's there is really the collected memories of the sweater.
While I think that the observer is separate from the observed, that conditioning factor must be present. Because the sense of separation itself gives that structure continuity.
I see. I am the one watching this, watching that, watching here, watching there. And so this conditioning factor, which is the limiting factor in our approach to observation, continues.
Mhm.
It accumulates this kind of knowledge, that kind of knowledge,
Mhm.
and maybe expands its limits, contracts some of its limits. But there's the limit.
Mhm.
And it continues, growing or shrinking.
First, I see something.
Mm-hmm.
A moment later, recognition of what that thing is. Thought thinks to itself, I have observed at the initial moment of seeing, which is now simply a memory. That memory, past experience, is modified at the present, as the present, in the form of the image of whatever it is that I'm seeing. And then that same structure of observer and observed continues into the future, modifying itself slightly, becoming sensitive to the present moment, and so expanding its limits.
Mm-hmm.
Becoming preoccupied with the future, which is an extension of that present moment, and so contracting its limits.
Mm-hmm.
Becoming sensitive to new information recognized as new in comparison to the old, or simply becoming engrossed in the old information.
Mm-hmm.
All of these movements are available to this thought structure.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it still exists within the limits of the past.
Mm-hmm.
And while our observation exists within these limits, we must live everlastingly with our problems.
Mm-hmm. If I know things as a function of my past, the things quickly become dissatisfactory. Because my past is limited.
Dissatisfaction is a natural response to that limiting factor.
Mm-hmm.
If I simply observe now, observing that whole movement of thought, past, present, and also the future, and therefore stopping that movement into the future, that dissatisfaction remains. But it's building. Because that conditioning factor is still there. But it's no longer active.
I see. Would you say that in some sense it is no longer I who is dissatisfied? But there is dissatisfaction.
There is dissatisfaction.
How strange.
In fact, even greater sense of dissatisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm no longer dispersing the energy of that dissatisfaction through the movement of thought,
Mm-hmm.
seeking satisfaction in the future experience.
I see. I sit with my dissatisfaction. Or I sit with dissatisfaction.
Great sense of joy in that.
I'm rather unbothered.
I'm no longer separating myself from that dissatisfaction in thought.
I feel no need to run away from it. I have no desire to pursue something to gratify it. I'm capable of addressing it. And there it is.
I'm not sure if I address it as such.
I see.
I don't need to do anything about it.
I see.
It's there and it's building.
I mean,
Tremendous.
Acknowledge its presence.
But with the energy of that dissatisfaction, I can meet any problem. No longer dividing myself as an observer from that dissatisfaction, from that division, conflict, dispersion of energy, but just to remain with the fact of that dissatisfaction. So the conditioning factor in our observation is prejudiced upon the separation between the observer and the observed. And when we examine the nature of the separation, we say it's false.
I see. Because the separation itself is a product of thought.
Thought separating itself from itself with itself.
I see. And therefore limiting our approach to things.
Always limiting everything we do as a response of memory. Which is so meaningless, so trivial.
I see. And perhaps now, with insight into this fact, our approach to things will be different. Each time thought asserts itself, there may be a recognition of its limitation.
Are you saying, because I have now I have knowledge that the observer is the observed. Next time, when thought says the observer is separate from the observed, that knowledge will recognize that as false?
No. It seems like in what you just suggested, we've invoked our knowledge, our past, and what will happen the next time, that is, the future, which is identified and structured by our experiences in our past.
So if not that, what are you saying?
Perhaps rather than operating based on thought, one can be thinking in the present, living with the insight of the fact that the observer is the observed.
Thinking in the present, living with the insight that the observer is the observed. I don't quite follow. Are you saying that insight is happening all the time?
I'm not quite sure. Well, I guess we would have to dive into what we mean by all the time.
In the sense, ongoing. Continuous insight.
I see. Are you asking me what the relationship is between insight and time? To take this question up, it seems like we would have to consider the nature of time.
Well, first I was thinking, I've had insight into the observer and the observed. From that insight, I have knowledge. Knowledge that the observer is the observed, because thought is the response of the memory of that knowledge. Whenever thought thinks the observer is separate from the observed, the recognition of that knowledge says that thought is wrong, that thought is false.
I see. But then it seems like the knowledge of that insight is different from the insight.
Okay. So you're saying insight is not knowledge. If insight is knowledge, then insight is a response of the past. Because knowledge means I can recognize it.
I see. I guess the recognizing being the operative term there.
To cognize again.
Mhm.
So I can only have knowledge of something I can recognize, something I can name, which means I've experienced it before.
I see. In our case, something like recognition of the experience of seeing the fact that the observer is the observed.
And that experience of the fact that the observer is the observed is only partial. Because I only experience the fact as it's taking place now.
I see.
So,
And so as an experience, it is the past.
well, as a past experience, it's the past.
I see.
But just that experience of the observer being the observed is by nature particular. And because that experience of the observer being the observed in a particular situation, that knowledge that the observer is the observed is also particular. And therefore, the memory of that knowledge can only respond to future particular instances that are themselves comparable to the previous instance.
I see. By particular, do you mean like circumstantial? Based on this set of circumstances? And then in similar sets of circumstances, I will recognize this to be the case. Perhaps in wildly different circumstances. That knowledge has no bearing on me.
That memory can't act.
I see.
Because different memories are much more relevant, much more intense, demanding. So we're saying, if there's any significance to insight, insight is not knowledge. Insight is not a responsive memory. Insight is not something that took place at some point in the past. If I think that insight is an ongoing activity, I'm merely extending that past knowledge into the future. Insight is not an activity that was taking place before, is taking place presently, and will continue to take place in the future.
I see.
Insight instead means perception. To see things as they are. We can see things as they are merely incidentally. But seeing the limitation of insight functioning incidentally one begins to wonder whether insight can function fundamentally. Not merely to observe the fact that the observer is the observed in experience, but rather to observe the necessary reality of that fact.
I see. That it is the case, that the observer is the observed.
If insight can function so fundamentally, that insight must change the whole way of living. Because for thousands of years, we've been thinking that the observer is separate from the observed. In thinking that the observer is separate from the observed, I think that I am separate from you. Not only individually, but also collectively. Black, white, Asian, British, American, Korean. Thinking that the observer is separate from the observed, I reduce myself to an image.
I see. One fragment observing another fragment. Division, conflict.
I reduce human beings to what I merely think they are.
Or I reduce human persons to who I think they are.
I limit the sense of capacity to the past.
I see. I wasn't able to do this by myself before. I won't be able to do it by myself now.
I have observed someone else do this before. I cannot do this now.
This activity has caused me great fear in the past. This activity is now the subject of fear because of the past.
My child is dead. It has caused me great sorrow. Will continue to cause me great sorrow in future. He made me happy before. He will continue to make me happy again. All of this is implied in that separation between the observer and the observed.
Seems rather fundamental to our problems and questions.
Our whole brain is moving in that direction.
Well, given that the observer is the observed, our whole way of life will change. Must change.
Perhaps next time we might take up the question, when there is an observation of the fact that the observer is the observed, and from there observing without the observer, what is there?
I see. Do you mean, when you say without the observer, do you mean that given that observation is taking place, what do you mean by without the observer is that this particular observer, as a collection of memories, thoughts, feelings, experiences of the past, this observer is not present? And when this observer is not present,
What is the condition of my relationship? What is the condition of myself?
I see. What do I see when I wash my eyes?
When I see clearly, what is there?
Very well. What shall I look at? It's rather exciting.